Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Federation flagship and watched the battle unfold in space. The massive alien ships moved in perfect lines, like dancers following ancient steps. Each vessel announced its position to the enemy. Before attacking, the blue energy beams crossed the dark void in neat patterns, striking shields that flashed and sparkled but rarely broke. Jake shook his head. He had been watching this war for 6 months now, and every battle looked the same. The Galactic Federation forces would form their traditional battle lines. The Zephyrian Empire would do the same. They would exchange fire for hours, following rules that seemed carved in stone. When one side lost enough ships, they would retreat in good order. The other side would let them go. This is not how wars are won, Jake muttered to himself. Admiral Vexstar, the tall blue-skinned commander of the Federation fleet, heard him. The alien's 4 eyes turned toward the human observer. Commander Morrison, you speak of things you do not understand. War has rules. Honor has meaning. We fight as civilized beings should fight. Jake wanted to laugh, but he kept his face calm. Civilized beings. These aliens had been fighting this war for 3 years, and neither side had gained more than a few star systems. Back on Earth, wars this slow were called stalemates. Here in space, the aliens called it proper warfare. Communication system crackled to life. Federation Fleet, this is Captain Lisa Hayes of the USS Defiance, requesting immediate conference with Admiral Vexstar. Jake's head snapped up. Captain Hayes was the human diplomatic officer assigned to this sector. Her ship was small compared to the alien vessels, but it was one of only 5 human ships in this part of the galaxy. Earth had sent observers to study the Galactic War, but they were not supposed to fight. Permission granted, Captain Hayes, Admiral Vexstar replied. What? Brings you to our battle zone? Admiral, we need to talk privately. The situation has changed. 20 minutes later, Jake found himself in the Admiral's private chamber along with Captain Hayes. The room was decorated with crystals that hummed with soft music. Everything was designed to promote calm and peaceful thinking. Jake thought. It was a strange place to plan a war. Captain Hayes was a woman in her 40s with short brown hair and tired eyes. She had been dealing with alien politics for 2 years, and it showed. She sat across from Admiral Vexstar and placed a datapad on the crystal table. Admiral, the Federation Council has made a decision. They are formally requesting Earth's military assistance in this war. Admiral Vexstar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Human military assistance? But your people have no experience with galactic warfare. Your technology is primitive. Your ships are small and weak. Jake felt his jaw tighten, but Captain Hayes remained calm. Our technology may be different, Admiral, but our experience with warfare is extensive. More extensive than you might imagine. The Council is desperate, Admiral Vexstar admitted. We have lost 12 major battles in the past year. The Zephyrians are pushing toward our core worlds. Their new battle formations are proving difficult to counter. Jake looked at the tactical display showing the current battle. The Zephyrian ships were using a diamond formation, with their strongest vessels at the points. The Federation ships were responding with their traditional line formation. It was like watching a chess game where both players had memorized the same book of moves. Admiral, Jake said carefully, what would happen if someone used different tactics? Something the Zephyrians had never seen before? Impossible, Admiral Vexstar replied immediately. There are only so many effective battle formations. The greatest military minds in the galaxy have studied warfare for thousands of years. All effective tactics are known. Captain Hayes and Jake exchanged glances. On Earth, military commanders would have laughed at such a statement. Human warfare had evolved constantly, with new tactics appearing in every conflict. What worked in one war would fail in the next. Admiral, Captain Hayes said gently. Humans have been fighting wars for our entire recorded history. We have developed many different ways of thinking about combat. Perhaps our perspective could be useful. The Council believes so, Admiral Vextar admitted. They have studied your historical records. Your species has an unusual relationship with conflict. Most civilized races outgrow the need for large-scale warfare. Humans appear to have perfected it. Jake watched the battle display as another Federation ship retreated with damaged shields. The Zephyrian forces let it go, as always. They could have destroyed it easily, but their code of honor prevented attacking a retreating enemy. Admiral, if Earth agrees to help, what authority would human forces have? Full tactical command of any engagement they participate in, Admiral Vextar said. The Council is prepared to grant humans complete freedom to conduct operations as they see fit. We are that desperate. Captain Hayes nodded. I will relay this to Earth immediately. But Admiral, I need you to understand something. Human warfare is not like yours. We do not follow the same rules. We do not fight for honor or glory. We fight to win. What other reason is there to fight? Admiral Vextar asked, genuinely confused. Jake looked at the alien commander's innocent expression. These beings had never faced an enemy that wanted to destroy them completely. They had never known the fear of extinction. They had never learned that sometimes survival requires abandoning honor. Admiral, Jake said quietly, you are about to find out. The transmission went out that night. Captain Hayes sent Earth's leaders a complete report on the Galactic War. She included tactical analyses, enemy capabilities, and Federation strengths. Most importantly, she included her personal recommendation. Earth should accept the request for military aid. The response came back within hours. Earth's answer was simple. Prepare for human arrival. We are coming. Jake stood on the bridge and watched another predictable battle unfold. Soon, he thought, these aliens would learn what real warfare looked like. The thought both excited and terrified him. The galaxy was about to change, and there would be no going back. President Daniel Carter sat at the head of the long table in the White House Situation Room. The room was filled with the most powerful people in Earth's government and military. The message from Captain Hayes lay open on the table, and everyone had read it twice. Gentlemen, ladies, President Carter began, we have a decision to make. The Galactic Federation wants our help in their war against the Zephyrian Empire. The question is simple. Do we get involved in an alien war? General Nathan Brooks, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, leaned forward. He was a big man with gray hair and scars from 3 different Earth conflicts. Mr. President, this could be the opportunity we have been waiting for. Earth has been treated like a junior partner in the galactic community. They think we are primitive. This is our chance to prove them wrong. Admiral Karen Stone, head of the new Space Force, shook her head. General, we know nothing about fighting in space on this scale. Our ships are smaller than theirs. Our weapons are different. We could lose everything. We could lose everything if we do nothing, General Brooks replied. If the Federation falls, how long before the Zephyrians come for Earth? Better to fight them now with allies than later alone. Dr. Rachel Turner, Earth's leading expert on alien psychology, raised her hand. She was a small woman with thick glasses, but her voice carried weight in the room. I have studied the alien records Captain Hayes sent us. The way they fight is completely different from human warfare. They follow strict rules. They announce their attacks. They allow retreats. They fight like it is a game with agreed-upon rules. That sounds like an advantage for us, said Secretary of Defense William Clark. It is, Dr. Turner agreed. But we need to understand what we are dealing with. These aliens have never faced an enemy that breaks the rules. They have never seen total war. They have never experienced the kind of warfare that humans consider normal. President Carter looked around the table. Dr. Turner, explain what you mean by total war. Dr. Turner stood and walked to the wall display. She pulled up images from Earth's history. Mr. President, human warfare evolved over thousands of years. We learned to use every advantage, every trick, every possible method to defeat our enemies. We attack supply lines. We use deception. We target enemy morale. We fight to win at any cost. She changed the display to show alien battle records. These aliens fight like medieval knights. They challenge each other to single combat. They follow codes of honor that limit their effectiveness. They have never learned that the only rule in war is victory. General Brooks smiled. So you are saying we would have a significant advantage? I am saying we would have an overwhelming advantage, Dr. Turner replied. These aliens fight with one hand tied behind their backs. We would fight with every weapon, every tactic, every dirty trick we have learned in 10,000 years of human conflict. Admiral Stone still looked worried. But what about the long-term consequences? If we show the galaxy how humans really fight, they might decide we are too dangerous to allow near them. They might, President Carter agreed. But they might also decide we are too useful to ignore. Right now, Earth is on the outside looking in. We get the leftover technology, the junior partnerships, the polite dismissals. This could change everything. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Finally, CIA Director Robert Hayes spoke up. Mr. President, our intelligence suggests that the Federation is losing this war badly. Without help, they will fall within 2 years. The Zephyrians will control half the galaxy. And then? President Carter asked. Then they will look for new targets, General Brooks said grimly. Earth would be an obvious choice. We have resources they want, and we would be isolated without Federation support. Dr. Turner nodded. The psychological profiles I have developed suggest that the Zephyrians see conquest as their natural right. They believe they are superior to all other species. If they win this war, they will not stop expanding. President Carter stood and walked to the window. Outside, Washington, D.C. looked peaceful in the morning sun. It was hard to believe that aliens were fighting a war among the stars, and that Earth might soon be involved. What would we need to do? He asked. General Brooks opened a thick folder. We would need to mobilize our entire space capability. Every ship, every weapon, every trained astronaut. We would be committing everything to this war. Our people would need to know, said Press Secretary Linda Martinez. We cannot fight an interstellar war in secret. The public will support it, said Dr. Turner. Americans have always rallied when faced with a clear threat, and the idea of helping underdogs against bullies will appeal to our national character. Admiral Stone looked at her notes. If we do this, we need to do it right. No half measures. We either commit fully or we stay out completely. President Carter returned to his seat. General Brooks, if we said yes, how long would it take to deploy? Our forces? 2 months for the first wave. 6 months for full deployment. We would need to coordinate with the Federation, learn their technology, and adapt our tactics to space warfare. Dr. Turner, President Carter said, you keep talking about human advantages in warfare. Can you give me specifics? Dr. Turner smiled for the first time in the meeting. Mr. President, humans are the only species in the galaxy that developed military doctrine as a science. We study war. We practice war. We innovate constantly. These aliens learned to fight once, thousands of years ago, and they never changed their methods. She pulled up a comparison chart. Human military history shows continuous evolution. New weapons, new tactics, new strategies. Alien military history shows the same patterns repeated for millennia. They are fighting the same way their ancestors fought 1,000 years ago. What about their technology? Admiral Stone asked. Better than ours in some ways, Dr. Turner admitted. But they use it predictably. They announce their attacks. They follow standard formations. They limit their targets to military objectives. A human commander would use superior technology very differently. General Brooks leaned back in his chair. Mr. President, I have been in combat for 30 years. I have seen what happens when one side follows the rules and the other side does not. It is not a fair fight. Are you saying we would not follow the rules? President Carter asked. I am saying we would follow our rules, General Brooks replied. And our rules are simple. Win the war, protect our people, and come home alive. Everything else is negotiable. The room was quiet again. Everyone understood the weight of the decision. Earth was being asked to join a galactic war, and they would be fighting in a way that might shock their allies as much as their enemies. President Carter looked around the table one more time. I want a formal vote. All in favor of accepting the Federation's request for military assistance? Every hand in the room went up. Motion carried, President Carter said. General Brooks, begin immediate preparation for deployment. Admiral Stone, start coordinating with Federation forces. Dr. Turner, I want detailed psychological profiles of both our allies and enemies. He stood up, and everyone else followed. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to war. God help us all. As the meeting broke up, General Brooks walked over to Dr. Turner. Doctor, do you really think we can win this war? Dr. Turner looked at him seriously. General, I do not think these aliens know what they have gotten themselves into. They asked for help from humans. They are about to learn what that really means. Colonel Pete Jackson floated in the command center of the USS Liberty, humanity's first combat deployment to the Galactic War. Around him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. The ship was smaller than the alien vessels, but it was packed with technology that the Federation had never seen before. Colonel, reported Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez from the tactical station, we have visual contact with the Zephyrian fleet. 18 ships in standard diamond formation, approaching the Federation defensive line. Pete looked at the display screen. The alien battle was about to begin, and it would follow the same pattern as always. The Federation ships were already moving into their traditional line formation. The Zephyrians would announce their attack, and both sides would exchange fire according to their ancient rules. Amy, are our stealth systems active? Pete asked. Yes, sir. We are invisible to their sensors. They have no idea we are here. Pete smiled. The aliens had been fighting this war for 3 years, and they still announced their positions to each other before attacking. It was like playing poker with your cards face up on the table. Communications, Pete called to Sergeant Mike Torres. Patch me through to Admiral Vegstar on the Federation flagship. Channel open, sir. Admiral, this is Colonel Jackson. My forces are in position. We are ready to engage the enemy. Colonel Jackson, came the alien's voice. Please remember the rules of engagement. You must announce your presence to the enemy before attacking. You must allow them to respond. You must target only military vessels, and you must permit retreat. If they signal surrender, Pete looked at his crew. Several of them were trying not to laugh. Admiral, we understand your rules. We will follow human rules of engagement. What are human rules of engagement? Admiral Vegstar asked. Win the war, Pete replied simply. Before the Admiral could respond, Pete switched to the tactical frequency. All human vessels, this is Liberty Actual. We are weapons-free. I repeat, weapons-free. Rules of engagement are simple. Destroy the enemy, protect the Federation, and come home alive. Everything else is optional. Lieutenant Rodriguez looked up from her station. Sir, Should we announce our presence to the Zephyrians? Negative. They will figure out we are here when their ships start exploding. The Federation and Zephyrian fleets were now in position. As always, the Zephyrian commander broadcast his formal challenge. Federation forces, this is Battle Commander Zekthul of the Zephyrian Empire. We claim this system in the name of the Empire. Prepare for honorable combat. Admiral Vexstar responded according to tradition. Zephyrian forces, this is Admiral Vexstar of the Federation. We deny your claim. We accept your challenge. Let us fight with honor. Both fleets began their slow approach, weapons charging, shields glowing. It was a dance they had performed dozens of times before. Amy, Pete said quietly, target the Zephyrian command ship. Full missile spread. Sir, they have not finished their formal declarations, Lieutenant Rodriguez replied, confused. Amy, they are enemy ships in a war zone. That is all the declaration I need. Lieutenant Rodriguez smiled and turned to her console. Target acquired. Missiles ready. Fire. The USS Liberty launched 24 missiles at the Zephyrian command ship. The missiles were designed to be invisible to alien sensors, and they struck before the enemy even knew they were under attack. The command ship's shields collapsed, and secondary explosions rippled through its hull. The effect on both fleets was immediate. The Zephyrian ships stopped in confusion, their formation breaking as they tried to locate the source of the attack. The Federation ships also stopped, equally confused by the sudden change in the battle's rhythm. Colonel, Admiral Vexstar. Voice crackled over the communication system. What have you done? The battle has not begun yet. Admiral, Pete replied calmly. The battle began the moment they entered this system with hostile intent. We are simply fighting to win. The Zephyrian fleet was now in chaos. Their command ship was crippled, and they could not locate the source of the attack. According to their tactical doctrine, this situation was impossible. Enemy ships were supposed to announce themselves before attacking. Amy, target the ship on the left flank. Use the railgun. Yes, sir. The USS Liberty's railgun fired a solid projectile at nearly 10% of light speed. It punched through the Zephyrian ship's shields like they were made of paper and tore through the hull from bow to stern. The ship broke apart in a shower of debris. Sir, reported Communications Sergeant Torres, we are receiving frantic transmissions from the Zephyrian fleet. They are asking who is attacking them. They want to know why we have not announced our presence. Tell them we are humans, Pete said. Tell them we do not announce our attacks. Meanwhile, the other human ships were engaging the enemy. The USS Defiant, under Captain Kevin Martinez, was using electronic warfare to jam Zephyrian communications. The enemy ships could not coordinate their response or call for reinforcements. The USS Ranger, commanded by Captain Sandra Lee, was attacking the Zephyrian supply ships at the rear of the formation. The aliens had never seen anyone target non-combat vessels, and they were unprepared for this kind of warfare. Colonel, Amy reported, the Zephyrian fleet is trying to retreat. They are broadcasting surrender signals. Pete looked at the tactical display. The enemy fleet was indeed trying to withdraw, but they were doing it according to their traditional rules. They were moving slowly, in formation, broadcasting their intentions. Negative on the retreat, Pete said. Continue attack. These ships came here to conquer a Federation world. They do not get to leave just because they are losing. Sir, Sergeant Torres said, Admiral Vexstar is requesting immediate conference. He sounds upset. Put him through. Colonel Jackson. Admiral Vexstar's voice was filled with distress. You must stop this attack immediately. The Zephyrians are signaling surrender. You must allow them to withdraw. Admiral, they are not surrendering. They are retreating to fight another day. That is not acceptable. But, Colonel, it is against all civilized rules of warfare to attack a retreating enemy. Pete looked at his crew. They were all watching him, waiting for his response. These men and women had trained for years to fight in space, and they knew that war was not a game with rules. "Admiral," Pete said carefully, "humans have a different definition of civilized warfare. We believe it is civilized to end wars quickly and decisively. We believe it is civilized to prevent enemy forces from regrouping and attacking again. We believe it is civilized to protect innocent people by destroying those who would harm them." The USS Liberty fired again, destroying another Zephyrian ship. The enemy fleet was now in full panic, their formations completely broken. They had never faced an enemy that ignored the rules of honorable combat. "Amy," Pete said, "what is the status of the Zephyrian fleet?" 12 ships destroyed, 4 crippled, 2 attempting to jump to hyperspace. Stop the hyperspace jumps. I want every ship in this system accounted for. Yes, sir. Within 30 minutes, the battle was over. The entire Zephyrian fleet was destroyed or captured. Not a single Federation ship had been damaged. The human ships had taken no casualties. Pete opened a channel to Admiral Vextar. "Admiral, the enemy fleet has been neutralized. The system is secure." There was a long pause before Admiral Vextar responded. "Colonel Jackson, in 30 minutes you have accomplished what we could not do in 3 years of fighting. But I must ask you, what have you done to the rules of war?" Pete looked out at the debris field that had been the Zephyrian fleet. "Admiral, we have introduced them to human rules of war, and I think you will find that our rules work much better than yours. The first human battle in the Galactic War was over. The aliens on both sides were trying to understand what they had just witnessed. But Pete Jackson knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when humans went to war." Major Tony Walsh stood in the briefing room of the human command ship USS Constitution. Around him sat the commanders of every human vessel in the fleet. The walls were covered with tactical displays showing Zephyrian fleet movements, Federation positions, and human battle plans. "Ladies and gentlemen," Tony began, "we have been fighting this war for 2 months now. The aliens on both sides are starting to understand that we fight differently. The question is, how do we keep our advantage?" Captain Susan Mills, commander of the USS Phoenix, raised her hand. "Sir, the Zephyrians are trying to adapt to our tactics. They have stopped announcing their attacks. They are trying to use ambush tactics." Tony nodded. "That is exactly the problem. If they learn to fight like us, we lose our advantage. So we need to stay ahead of them. We need to keep changing our methods faster than they can adapt." He pressed a button, and the main display showed a complex diagram. "This is what I call the doctrine of organized chaos. The idea is simple. We never fight the same way twice. We constantly change our tactics, our formations, our weapons, everything. The enemy cannot adapt to something that is always changing." Captain Rick Barnes, commander of the USS Vanguard, looked confused. "Sir, how do we coordinate attacks if we are constantly changing our methods?" "That is the genius of it," Tony replied. "We do not coordinate in the traditional sense. Each human commander is given a general objective and complete freedom to achieve it however they think best. We trust our people to be creative and adapt to situations as they develop." Dr. Marcus Bell, the fleet's military psychologist, stood up. "Major Walsh, I have been studying the psychological impact of our tactics on the enemy. The Zephyrians are showing signs of what I call tactical trauma. Their minds cannot process the unpredictability of our attacks." "Explain," Tony said. "The alien military mind is designed for predictable warfare," Dr. Bell continued. "They expect certain patterns, certain responses. When we break those patterns, it causes actual psychological damage. They become paralyzed by uncertainty." Captain Mills smiled. So we are not just defeating their ships. We are defeating their ability to think tactically. Exactly, Dr. Bell replied. And the more unpredictable we become, the worse their condition gets. Tony turned to the tactical display. Let me show you what I mean. Last week, Captain Niels captured a Zephyrian command ship by pretending to be refugees. The week before, Captain Barnes destroyed an entire fleet by hiding inside an asteroid field. Yesterday, Captain Rodriguez won a battle by surrendering first, then attacking when the enemy let their guard down. He looked around the room. Each of these tactics worked because the enemy had never seen them before. But if we use any of them again, they will be ready for us. So we need to keep inventing new ways to fight. Captain Rodriguez, the youngest, commander in the fleet, spoke up. Sir, what about our allies? The Federation ships are having trouble keeping up with our tactics. They keep asking for standard battle plans. That is another problem, Tony admitted. The Federation wants us to fight like them. They want predictable formations, announced attacks, and honorable retreats. But if we do that, we become just another alien fleet. Dr. Bell nodded. The Federation commanders are also showing signs of stress. They are not used to the speed and violence of human warfare. Some of them are requesting transfers away from human battle groups. Tony walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Gentlemen, we are not just fighting a war. We are introducing an entirely new concept of warfare to the galaxy. The aliens think war is like a formal dance with rules and steps. We think war is like a street fight where anything goes. He turned back to the group. The problem is that both sides are starting to understand this. The Zephyrians are terrified of us, but they are also learning. The Federation is grateful for our help, but they are also worried about what we represent. Captain Niels looked thoughtful. Sir, what happens when this war is over? What happens when the galaxy has seen what human warfare looks like? That is a question for the politicians. Tony replied. Our job is to win this war. And to do that, we need to keep the enemy guessing. He activated a new display showing the next phase of operations. Here is what we are going to do. Each of you will be given a different type of mission. Captain Mills, you will conduct a stealth operation behind enemy lines. Captain Barnes, you will lead a direct assault on a fortified position. Captain Rodriguez, you will coordinate with Federation forces in a defensive action. Sir, Captain. Rodriguez asked, why are we splitting up? Would we not be more effective working together? No, Tony replied. If we stay together, the enemy can predict our movements. If we split up and each use different tactics, they cannot prepare for all of us. They will not know what to expect from any human force they encounter. Dr. Bell raised his hand. Major, I should mention that we are starting to see an interesting side effect. The other species in the Zephyrian Empire are beginning to surrender. When they see human ships, they have heard stories about our tactics, and they are too frightened to fight. What kind of stories? Tony asked. They call us the Chaos Bringers, Dr. Bell replied. They believe that humans fight without any logic or pattern. They think we are unpredictable because we are insane. Captain Mills laughed. Well, they are not entirely wrong. By their standards, we probably are insane. Tony smiled. Good. Fear is a weapon, and we should use it. If the enemy is too scared to fight effectively, that gives us an even bigger advantage. He looked around the room. But remember, we are not just fighting to win battles. We are fighting to win the war. And to do that, we need to break the enemy's will to continue fighting. Captain Barnes looked at the tactical displays. Sir, how do we do that? The Zephyrians are a proud species. They believe they are superior to everyone else. We show them that they are not superior to us, Tony replied. We demonstrate that their entire way of thinking about warfare is wrong. We prove that all their rules and traditions are just weaknesses that we can exploit." Dr. Bell nodded. "The psychological impact is already significant. Zephyrian commanders are being replaced because they cannot function after facing human tactics. Their entire military culture is beginning to crack." Tony activated the final display. "Here is the ultimate goal. We do not just want to defeat the Zephyrian Empire. We want to defeat the idea that their way of fighting is valid. We want to make it clear that human warfare is superior to alien warfare." He looked at each commander in turn. "When this war is over, I want every species in the galaxy to know that humans are the ultimate military force. I want them to understand that if they threaten Earth or our allies, they will face the full power of human tactical innovation." "Captain." Mills raised her hand. "Sir, what if we succeed too well? What if we make the other species so afraid of us that they unite against us?" Tony considered this. "That is a risk we have to take. But I think it is more likely that they will want us as allies rather than enemies. Fear can lead to respect, and respect can lead to cooperation." Dr. Bell added, "The Federation is already beginning to see us as essential. They are starting to understand that they need human military expertise to survive in a dangerous galaxy." Tony nodded. "Exactly. We are not just winning a war. We are establishing humanity's place in the galactic community. We are proving that Earth deserves to be treated as an equal partner, not a junior member." He turned off the displays. "All right, people. You have your assignments. Remember the doctrine. Be unpredictable, be creative, and be effective. Show the galaxy what human warfare looks like." As the commanders filed out of the briefing room, Tony remained behind with Dr. Bell. "Doctor, do you think we are doing the right thing?" Dr. Bell looked out at the stars. "Major, I think we are doing the necessary thing. The galaxy is a dangerous place, and humanity needs to prove that we can defend ourselves and our allies. If that means introducing new concepts of warfare, then so be it." Tony nodded. "I just hope we can control what we have started." "Major," Dr. Bell replied, "I do not think anyone can control what we have started. We have opened a door that cannot be closed. The galaxy will never be the same." Admiral Roy Phillips stood in the command center of the USS Titan, watching the tactical displays that showed the current state of the galactic war. 6 months had passed since humans entered the conflict, and the situation was changing rapidly. The Zephyrians were trying to adapt to human tactics, but they were failing in ways that surprised even the human commanders. "Admiral," reported Captain Lisa Grant from the intelligence station, "we have intercepted more Zephyrian communications. They are calling us the madness that walks between stars. Their military psychologists are declaring human warfare to be impossible to understand." Roy smiled grimly. "Impossible to understand or impossible to accept?" "Both, sir. They cannot figure out how we think, and they cannot bring themselves to fight the way we do." Dr. Helen Ross, the fleet's chief psychologist, looked up from her datapad. "Admiral, I have been studying the psychological reports from Zephyrian prisoners. They are showing symptoms that we have never seen before. They seem to be suffering from a form of tactical paralysis." "Explain," Roy said. "Their minds are designed for predictable warfare," Dr. Ross continued. "When they face an enemy that follows known patterns, they function normally. But when they face human tactics, their decision-making processes shut down. They literally cannot think of appropriate responses." Roy looked at the main display, which showed human fleet positions across the galaxy. "Are you saying that our tactics are causing mental damage to the enemy?" "Yes, sir. And it is getting worse. The longer this war continues, the more their military effectiveness decreases. They are becoming afraid to make any tactical decisions because they know we will respond in ways they cannot predict." Captain Tom Wilson, commander of the Human Special Operations Group, entered the command center. "Admiral, we just completed Operation Chaos Storm. The results exceeded all expectations." "Report," Roy said. "We sent 12 human ships to attack a Zephyrian stronghold. Each ship used completely different tactics. The first ship announced its presence and challenged the enemy to formal combat. The second ship used stealth technology and attacked without warning. The third ship pretended to surrender, then opened fire when the enemy approached." Tom smiled. The Zephyrians could not decide how to respond. They prepared for formal combat, but were also watching for stealth attacks. They accepted the surrender, but were ready for treachery. They were so confused that they made no effective response at all. "What about casualties?" Roy asked. "The Zephyrians lost 18 ships. We lost none. The enemy base was completely destroyed, and we captured valuable intelligence about their military command structure." Dr. Ross shook her head. "Admiral, what Captain Wilson describes is exactly what I was talking about. The Zephyrians are experiencing total tactical breakdown. Their minds cannot process multiple conflicting strategies at the same time." Roy walked to the large window that looked out into space. In the distance, he could see the lights of Federation ships that were trying to learn human tactics. The results were mixed at best. "What about our allies?" Roy asked. "How are the Federation forces adapting to our methods?" Captain Grant consulted. Her reports, "Not well, sir. The Federation commanders are requesting that we return to more traditional tactics. They say our methods are too violent and unpredictable for civilized warfare. They are also having trouble with their own crews," Dr. Ross added. "Federation soldiers are trained to follow specific procedures in combat. When human tactics require rapid improvisation and rule-breaking, many of them become confused and ineffective." Roy nodded. He had expected this problem. The Federation species had been fighting the same way for thousands of years. Asking them to suddenly change their entire approach to warfare was like asking them to change their entire culture. "Sir," reported Sergeant Ben Taylor, the senior Marine aboard the Titan, "I have been working with Federation ground forces. They are brave fighters, but they cannot understand our tactics. Yesterday, I showed them how to use captured enemy equipment against the Zephyrians. They said it was dishonorable to use enemy weapons." Roy turned back to the group. "Sergeant, what did you tell them?" "I told them that honor does not win wars, sir. Victory wins wars." But they did not seem to understand the difference. Captain Wilson looked at the tactical displays. "Admiral, we have a bigger problem. The Zephyrians are starting to change their approach. They are not adapting to our tactics, but they are changing their overall strategy." "How so?" Roy asked. "They are avoiding direct confrontation with human forces. Instead, they are focusing their attacks on Federation ships and planets that do not have human protection. They are trying to win the war by defeating our allies rather than fighting us directly." Dr. Ross nodded. "That actually makes sense from their perspective. They cannot understand how to fight us, so they are choosing not to fight us at all. But that means the war will continue indefinitely," Captain Grant pointed out. "They can avoid us while slowly conquering the rest of the Federation." Roy considered this problem. The Zephyrians were showing more intelligence than he had expected. If they could not adapt to human tactics, they would simply avoid human forces altogether. "We need to force them to fight us," Roy decided. "Captain Wilson, I want you to plan operations that make it impossible for the Zephyrians to avoid human forces." "How do we do that, sir?" "We make them choose between fighting us and losing the war," Roy replied. "We attack targets they cannot afford to lose. We force them to defend positions where they have to face human tactics directly." Sergeant Taylor smiled. "Sir, are you talking about total war? Attacking everything the enemy values until they have no choice but to surrender?" "That is exactly what I'm talking about, Sergeant. The Zephyrians think they can avoid defeat by avoiding battles. We need to show them that running away is not an option. Dr. Ross looked worried. Admiral, if we escalate to total war, the psychological impact on both sides could be severe. The Federation has never seen warfare like that. They might decide that humans are too dangerous to have as allies. Doctor, the Federation asked for our help because they were losing, Roy replied. If they wanted gentle warfare, they should not have invited humans to fight their battles. Captain Grant activated a new display showing Zephyrian territory. Admiral, intelligence reports indicate that the Zephyrians are concentrating their remaining forces around their core worlds. They are building massive defensive positions and preparing for a long siege. Good, Roy said. That means they are thinking defensively instead of offensively. Once an enemy starts thinking about defense, they have already lost the psychological battle. But sir, Captain Wilson pointed out, attacking fortified positions could result in heavy casualties for human forces. Is it worth the risk? Roy looked at his commanders. These were good people who had followed him across the galaxy to fight in an alien war. They deserved an honest answer. Captain, I believe the risk is necessary. If we allow this war to drag on for years, more people will die on both sides. If we can end it quickly with decisive action, we will save lives in the long run. Dr. Ross nodded reluctantly. Admiral, from a psychological perspective, a quick decisive victory would be better for everyone involved. Long wars cause more mental damage than short, brutal ones. Then we are agreed, Roy said. We escalate. We show the Zephyrians that avoiding human forces is not a viable strategy. We demonstrate that human warfare is not just different from theirs, it is superior to theirs. Sergeant Taylor looked excited. Sir, when do we begin the new operations? Immediately. Roy replied. Captain Wilson, I want plans for attacks on every major Zephyrian military installation. Captain Grant, coordinate with Federation forces to ensure they understand our new approach. Dr. Ross, prepare psychological profiles of enemy commanders so we can predict their responses. As his staff began to leave, Roy called Dr. Ross back. Doctor, I need to ask you something privately. Are we becoming the kind of people we should be afraid of? Dr. Ross considered the question carefully. Admiral, war changes everyone who participates in it. The question is not whether we are changing, but whether we are changing for necessary reasons. And what is your professional opinion? My opinion is that humans are doing what humans have always done, adapting to survive in a dangerous environment. A galaxy is dangerous, and we are becoming dangerous enough to protect ourselves and our allies. Roy nodded. I hope you are right, Doctor, because after this war is over, we will have to live with what we have become. Dr. Ross smiled sadly. Admiral, I think what we are becoming is what we always were. We are just showing it to the galaxy. For the first time, Roy looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, alien civilizations were trying to understand how humans thought about warfare. They would learn soon enough. The galaxy was about to see the full power of human military doctrine, and there would be no going back. Computer, Roy said to the ship's artificial intelligence, send a message to all human commanders. Operation Total Victory begins in 24 hours. All human forces are authorized to use any tactics necessary to achieve complete defeat of Zephyrian military capability. Message sent, Admiral, the computer replied. Roy smiled grimly. The Zephyrians wanted to avoid fighting humans. Now they were going to learn that avoiding humans was impossible.